When you feel stumped by a question someone asks, here are tactics that will help with that task. Here are some ways to answer questions that are too broad, too narrow, or too specialized. That's usually when we feel stumped. That's usually when our mind goes blank. So let's work through those. All right, first, something that's way too broad. Somebody sees you and says, "Hey, I haven't seen you in forever. What have you been up to?" And maybe it has been a year since you've seen them. Way broad. What have I been up to? So narrow that question. Reframe it. Well, I can tell you what I've been up to today. I can tell you what I was up to last week if you have a highlight that's recently happened. So narrow a really broad question. Enlarge a really narrow question. They usually show up in the middle of a conversation. And maybe somebody says, "So what about you? What was the worst, the most horrible, embarrassing moment you had at your last job?" Now they've given so many qualifiers. You're thinking the worst, the most horrible, the most embarrassing. Enlarge it. Here's what I'm learning about embarrassment. It's just a chance for me to laugh at myself. So here's when I've recently laughed at myself. And if you can remember what happened at your last job, great. But you enlarge that question. And then finally, if the question is very specialized and you just don't know anything about it, somebody throws out a question and says, "Oh, okay, what do you think about what the local city council just did? They passed that measure and we only get the library 2 days a week now." Well, maybe you knew nothing about that at all. So do a U-turn, I call it. Turn it back toward them. All right, so now tell me, what do you think about it? I don't know very much about it. What is your opinion? There you go. Reframe or try that U-turn. You won't be stumped. Really good tactics. And those are my 2 cents in these 2 minutes.